I'm Clyde Lewis. You're listening to Ground Zero. A nightmare of a show tonight. I swear I'm going to have nightmares after I talk about all this tonight. I was having nightmares when I first was reading this. Researchers have restored circulation and cellular activity in the vital organs of pigs, such as heart and brain, 1 hour after the animals died. The research challenges the idea of cardiac death, which occurs when blood circulation and oxygenation stops. It's irreversible and raises ethical questions about what exactly is the definition of death. The work follows a 2019 experiment that was basically carried out by scientists in which they revived disembodied brains of pigs. In the work that was published at the beginning of this month in Nature, actually it was the third where it was published, researchers connected pigs that had been dead for 1 hour to a system called Organex that pumped a blood substitute throughout the animals' bodies. The solution containing the animal's blood and 13 compounds, such as anticoagulants, slowed the decomposition process of the bodies and quickly restored some organ function, such as heart contraction and activity in the liver and kidneys. Although Organex helped to preserve the integrity of some brain tissue, researchers did not observe any coordinated brain activity that would indicate the animals had regained any consciousness or sentience. Looking at a 2019 paper that I've been going over a lot of this. It's just terrifying. It's a boon to science, but it's terrifying. The study is likely to reinvigorate a debate about just what exactly the definition of death is and the ethics of post-mortem organ donation. Guy by the name of Undead Pigs, who's a Yale neuroscientist, member of the team that did this, he predicted that these experiments might work in the light of the 2019 pig brain study because the brain is the organ most susceptible to oxygen deprivation. If you can regain some function in a dead pig brain, you can do it in other organs, according to him. So to find out, he and his co-authors modified the BrainX solution and the technique used in that study. BrainX was tailored for a specific organ, the brain, but they had to find a common denominator that works for all organs of the body. Thus, they created this concoction known as Organex. So in the Organex solution and the concoction, the researchers included compounds that would suppress blood clotting in the immune system, which is more active elsewhere in the body than in the brain. So they obtained pigs from a local farm breeder and monitored them for 3 days before sedating them and putting them on a ventilator and inducing cardiac arrest by delivering a shock to their hearts. After confirming a lack of pulse, the researchers removed the animals from the ventilators. 1 hour after the pigs died, the team restarted the ventilators and anesthesia. Some of the pigs were then attached to the Organex system. Others received no treatment or were hooked up to a extracorporeal membrane. It's an ECMO, oxygenation. It's called extracorporeal membrane oxygenation. That's ECMO or ECMO. It was a machine that they hooked them up to, which some hospitals they use as a last-ditch effort to supply oxygen and remove carbon dioxide from the body to try to keep the body alive. After 6 hours, the researchers noticed that circulation had restarted much more effectively in pigs that had received the Organex solution than in those that had received the ECMO or no treatment. Oxygen had begun flowing to tissues all over the bodies of the Organex animals, and a heart scan detected some electrical activity and contraction in the heart, but the heart had not fully restarted, and it's unclear what exactly it was doing in those animals, or what it was doing to the animals as it was trying to beat. The researchers also noticed that the livers of the Organex pigs produced much more of a protein called albumin than did the livers of pigs in the other groups, and cells in each of the vital organs of these Organex pigs responded to glucose much more than did the animals in other groups, suggesting that the treatment had re-kickstarted metabolism. The findings are striking given how quickly after death decomposition begins, and they were able to avoid decomposition. The researchers found that more genes responsible for cellular function and repair were active across all major organs in the organ X group compared to the ECMO or the ones that received no treatment at all. So what's really creepy, though, is thinking about the involuntary movements that the pigs had while they were being reanimated. And that, of course, is hearing the stories of the pigs having involuntary jerking of their heads and neck and torso. What they did is they gave them an injection of contrast dye. And that way they could see, well, the scientists need to visualize how the animals' brains were functioning following the treatment. And so when they put that in there, the pigs would violently rock their heads around, jerking their heads back and forth, neck, torso. No word of whether or not they were screaming. But I'm sure that happened too. But of course, they don't tell you why they were moving, noting that it's unlikely that the impulses were in the brain. It was just there was lack of electrical activity. It was possible that the movement was in the spinal cord. And usually after death, sometimes the spinal cord functions independently of the brain, even though the brain isn't working. So during the cellular restoration, you were seeing these pigs jerking around, and it really didn't matter. The organs were still alive. The pigs didn't feel anything in the brain, so they say. It's very fascinating and creepy all in the same breath here.